Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're unpacking the ultimate biological paradox. I mean, think about it. We're looking at an animal that is frankly completely comical looking. It's slow, it's not aerodynamic at all, and it's just plain goofy. Yet it manages to survive and thrive in ocean waters absolutely packed with apex predators. So how does it do it? Well, today we are going to break down the incredible science behind the pufferfish. All right, let's just jump right in. Look at this number. 1,250. It really sets the stage for exactly what kind of creature we're dealing with here. Because that right there, that's how many times more lethal the pufferfish's toxin is compared to cyanide. Just to put that into perspective for a second, a mere 2 milligrams, literally an amount so small you could fit it on the head of a pin, is enough to kill a full-grown human adult, no problem. So how did this bizarre little fish come to possess such an unbelievably deadly arsenal? To figure out how a ribless balloon became the ocean's most notorious assassin, here is our game plan. First, the anatomy of an inflatable fish. Second, the ultimate chemical weapon. Third, reef protectors and invaders. Fourth, the deadly Fugu tradition. And finally, pet puffers and dental care. Okay, Section 1, Anatomy of an Inflatable Fish. From coughing to extreme inflation. You know, we tend to think of this whole inflation thing as some magical, out-of-the-blue defense mechanism, but actually, it's a perfect example of what evolutionary biologists call exaptation. Basically, a pufferfish blowing up is just a highly evolved, repurposed cough. Most fish already have a coughing reflex to clear junk out of their gills, or they blow water out of their mouths to uncover prey hiding in the sand. Ancestral pufferfish simply took that existing motor pattern and completely rerouted it. Instead of spitting the water out, they started pumping it backwards into a highly specialized, expandable stomach sac. So mechanically, how does this work? It's basically a super fast, repetitive 3-step pump cycle. When they're threatened, they hit the suction phase. Specific muscles drop the floor of their mouth, creating a negative pressure vacuum that just gulps in massive amounts of water. Next is the compression phase, where those same bones violently rotate upward, shoving all that water backward. And finally, the sphincter lock. Heavy muscles at the entrance of the stomach clamp shut like a watertight valve so the water can't escape. They just repeat this cycle incredibly fast until they balloon up. But here's the crazy trade-off. To achieve this extreme inflation, modern puffers literally had to lose their ribs. If you look at an evolutionary intermediate, like the 3-tooth puffer, it still has ribs. Because of those skeletal constraints, it can only inflate its volume by about 30%. Advanced puffers, on the other hand, they ditched their pleural ribs entirely and developed a highly mobile pectoral girdle and incredibly stretchy skin. They completely traded pelagic swimming speed for the ultimate expandable defense. Moving right along to Section 2, the ultimate chemical weapon, tetrodotoxin and the molecular plug. Now, looking goofy and blowing up is great for physical defense, but their invisible chemical defense is what makes them truly untouchable. This brings us to tetrodotoxin, or TTX. It's a highly heat-stable neurotoxin, which means, no, you cannot just cook the poison out of the fish. And TTX acts quite literally as a molecular plug. See, your nerve cells rely on voltage-gated sodium channels to send signals. TTX has this positively charged group that perfectly anchors right into the mouth of that channel. It literally plugs the hole. Absolutely zero sodium gets in, the nerve can't fire, and the result is complete and utter paralysis, without even altering the resting membrane potential. Okay, this is probably the wildest part. They don't even make the poison themselves. Nope, they acquire it purely through their diet, munching on toxic starfish, crabs, and snails that carry specific marine bacteria. So how do they survive eating their own poison? Well, they went through a concerted genomic overhaul. Their own sodium channels mutated, swapping out specific amino acids for different ones. This actually changed the physical shape of their nerve channels so the toxin can't plug them. So they just bioaccumulate the poison safely. Oh, and as a super bizarre side note, dolphins have actually figured out that gently chewing on a pufferfish releases just enough of this neurotoxin to give them a mild, intoxicating high. Nature is wild, right? So, with no known antidote existing in modern medicine, you're probably wondering, what exactly happens to the human body if you accidentally eat this toxin? Well, the medical field uses this thing called the Fukuda and Tani scale to grade TTX poisoning, and let me tell you, it escalates terrifyingly fast. It starts at grade 1 with just a little paresthesia, tingling or numbness around your lips. But because it's a neurotoxin, it rapidly paralyzes the body. Grade 2 brings slurred speech. By grade 3, you're dealing with flaccid paralysis and you literally stop breathing, all while potentially remaining completely conscious. Grade 4 brings extreme hypoxia and cardiac arrest. Survival relies entirely on someone recognizing it immediately and getting you on mechanical ventilation until your body can naturally clear the toxin out. Which brings us to Section 3, reef protectors and invaders, the ecological duality of Tetraodontoidea. Because of their total immunity to this poison and their incredibly strong beaks, pufferfish hold a massive ecological footprint. But it's a completely dual-sided story. In their native Indo-Pacific, large puffers are absolute reef savers. They act as keystone predators because they're one of the only animals tough enough and immune enough to crush and eat the venomous crown-of-thorns starfish, which is a pest that literally digests coral reefs alive. But when pufferfish end up where they don't belong, like the highly toxic silver-cheeked toadfish that migrated into the Mediterranean through the Suez Canal, they are absolute terrors. Driven by warming seas and having zero natural predators there, their population has exploded. They destroy commercial fishing nets, attack swimmers, and have caused such a massive economic crisis that places like Cyprus literally have bounties on their heads.
All right, Section 4, the deadly fugu, tradition, Japan's extreme culinary obsession.
You'd think, given the massive risk of grade 4 paralysis, humans would have just decided to leave this fish alone. But nope, people in Japan have actually been eating them for at least 2,300 years. We know this from fugu bones found in ancient shell middens. However, in the 16th century, after way too many samurai died from eating improperly prepared pufferfish, the Tokugawa shogunate outright banned it. It stayed this dark, underground secret until the late 19th century when Japan's first prime minister tasted it, absolutely loved the delicate flavor, and pushed to legitimize it. Eventually, this led to massive government oversight, including a strict 1983 ban on serving the liver, which, let's be honest, is basically just a concentrated poison sac. To actually prepare this fish legally today, chefs go through an insanely intense licensing exam. You can't just slice it up. First, there's a rigorous written test on biology and species ID. Then comes the 20-minute practical. Using a specialized knife, the chef has to perfectly dissect out the toxic liver, ovaries, and skin. And there is a zero-tolerance policy. If they leave a single drop of blood anywhere, they fail instantly. The pass rate is only about 35%. And honestly, what really highlights how dangerous this is step 4. All those toxic scraps don't just go in the dumpster. They are locked in labeled containers and sent off to municipal facilities to literally be incinerated at high temperatures. Okay, final section, number 5, pet puffers and dental care, the high-maintenance world of captive husbandry. Turns out, you don't just find these guys on sushi plates or coral reefs. Because they have these highly expressive faces, eyes that move independently, and just really intelligent behavior, they've become super popular aquarium pets. But keeping them alive is incredibly demanding. For starters, they're super messy eaters, so you need massive, double-capacity water filtration. But the real kicker is their dental anatomy. They have 4 fused teeth that grow continuously, kind of like a rodent's. If you feed a captive puffer soft food, its teeth will literally overgrow until its mouth locks shut, leading to starvation. You have to feed them whole snails, clams, and mussels to grind that beak down naturally. But you also have to be careful. Feed them too many shrimp or crabs, and an enzyme called thiaminase will destroy their vitamin B1, causing fatal neurological damage. It's a really delicate balancing act. So what happens if you own a puffer and its diet isn't perfectly managed? Well, you might literally end up playing underwater dentist. If those teeth overgrow, aquarists have to manually trim them. First, you carefully sedate the fish using a few drops of clove oil until its gills slow down. You absolutely have to keep it submerged in a cup or hold it with wet gloves so it doesn't swallow air, because if it inflates with air, it can be fatal. Then you swiftly clip the beak with cuticle clippers, or if it's a larger species, you actually grind the teeth down with a Dremel tool. Finally, you pop them back into highly oxygenated water to recover. Talk about high-maintenance pets, right? To wrap up this explainer, let's look at the modern scientific frontier. Today, aquaculture experts have actually figured out how to farm completely non-toxic fugu just by controlling their diet. And at the exact same time, scientists are harvesting those invasive puffers in the Mediterranean to extract their tetrodotoxin. They are using it in microdoses to create highly advanced painkillers for severe cancer patients. It really leaves you wondering, if we can take the ocean's absolute deadliest chemical weapon and turn it into a life-saving medical asset, how many other bizarre biological paradoxes are out there just waiting to be unlocked? Thanks so much for joining me on this deep dive, and I'll catch you on the next explainer.